Bueno, mi gente, estamos aquí otro día. Estamos aquí con Mr. Dávila.
Pero me cogiste bostezando.
Estamos aquí con el Mr. Dávila. Vamos rumbo a Boston. Estamos aquí en Worcester, ¿verdad?
Sí, en Worcester.
Worcester es una de las ciudades, de las grandes ciudades de Massachusetts.
Es la segunda ciudad en tamaño, en población.
O sea, que la primera es Boston.
Primera es Boston.
La primera ciudad es Boston, la más grande.
Sí.
De hecho, es la capital de Massachusetts.
Sí, Boston, sí.
Entonces, Worcester viene siendo como la segunda.
Sí.
Mi gente, estamos aquí, vamos rumbo al Fenway Park. Está aquí mismo, estamos en el Fenway Park.
Sí, ya hemos dado la vuelta 2 veces al parque.
Vamos para adentro ahora para un tour del Fenway Park. Estaremos llevando todas las incidencias, todo lo que podamos ver ahí en el Fenway Park. Y ya ustedes saben, mi gente, aquí hace un frío fuertemente refrescante. Vamos a ver qué es lo que es ahora.
League Baseball opened in 1912, 107 years ago. It's the oldest in the major leagues. Wrigley Field in Chicago, home of the Chicago Cubs, that's the second oldest, built in 1914. Third oldest doesn't come until Dodger Stadium, 1962, 50 years after Fenway. Out of the 30 major league ballparks, we only got 7 that were built before the 90s. So there are not many old ballparks left in the major leagues, never mind one that's 107 years old. So let's not waste any time. We're gonna head off to our first stop on the tour, our first real behind the scenes look, and that is the visiting team clubhouse, or the visiting team locker room. Why don't you follow me right this way, guys?
Bueno, mi gente, estamos aquí, seguimos, vamos a ver qué es lo que hay aquí.
Come on in, make sure you see all corners of the room. There's plenty to see in here. So, this is the visiting team clubhouse. This is where the visiting team dresses before the game. Did we lose one? Oh, there it is.
Visiting team.
It's pretty small for a major league clubhouse. I'm not gonna lie. That's one of the Fenway's one of the smallest ballparks in the major leagues. It affects a lot of what we do here. This in particular, but it's better than what the visiting team used to have. This clubhouse didn't exist until 1953. April 20th, 1912. Anyone know of another historic event that had just happened in April of 1912? Can anyone think of something? Leonardo DiCaprio was in a movie about it. Titanic sank just 5 days before Fenway Park opened. But we still had a great opening day. We played a team called the New York Highlanders. They're now called the Yankees. So that Red Sox rivalry goes all the way back to day 1 here at Fenway, which is pretty cool. But these are the gates that fans walked in 107 years ago. You think of how much history is here. These ticket windows were in operation from opening day 1912 all the way to 2003. They put the money in a basket and send it up in a pulley system to the offices right above us. These offices are still in use. This is like the HR department above us right now.
Interesante esto,
sí,
¿verdad?
muy interesantísimo, y de la manera que narra la historia es una cosa fantástica, porque es que la verdad que tiene mucho que decir y muy interesante.
Wow, mi gente, seguimos aquí en el Fenway Park. Seguimos, vamos a ver.
Yawkey made his money the old-fashioned way, in inheritance. By the time he was 30 years old, he had inherited $40 million from his uncle in the middle of the Great Depression. So he wanted to buy himself a ball club, just like his uncle, but he wanted to buy himself the worst ball club there was so that he could really build it up from nothing. And that was the Boston Red Sox in Fenway Park for $1.5 million. He bought it. Took another $1.5 million to renovate the ballpark. As I mentioned, it's really fallen apart at this point. 1926, a gentleman sitting out in left field left his lit cigar in his wooden seat after a game. Took out that entire corner of the ballpark in a blazing fire. That happened in 26. It's now 1934. It still hadn't been repaired. The park is really not in rough shape. So he makes 4 major renovations in 34, all of which are still here today. Now the big thing he did was, this used to be a big old rickety wooden ballpark. He reinforced it with concrete and steel everywhere to kind of make it what it looks like today. But the 4 major renovations, number 1 is the roof. He put in this roof with 1934 steel supporting it. It was built simply for days when it was hot. you know, you want to be in the shade, or if it's raining and you want to keep dry. But last 15, 20 years, we've done a lot of expanding to the ballpark, add a few more seats, and we got streets all around us, so there's no room to go out. So we went up on top of the roof, about 5,000 seats. You'll see the view from up there, it's awesome. Second renovation, as I just mentioned before, the bleacher section. Those used to be the green seats. You guys see those green seats on the other side of the field? Those used to be a completely separate property, not owned by the Red Sox. You bought a bleacher ticket, you sat in the bleachers, you literally weren't allowed inside the rest of the ballpark. So Yawkey bought those, brought them into the rest of the ballpark in 34. Third renovation, this is my favorite. It's the seats you guys are sitting in right now, the grandstand seats. There's 12,000 of these seats stretching all the way down both sides of the park. They're not replicas. 1934 oak, 1934 steel. Just some springs and coats of paint since then. These are the oldest seats in Major League Baseball. They're some of the only wooden seats left in Major League Baseball. Some would say the most uncomfortable seats in Major League Baseball. Feels like 1934, right? People were a lot smaller back then, but they add to the history of the ballpark. When you come to a place as old as Fenway, this is kind of what you expect to see, right? Stuff like this. So it's a really nostalgic thing. It adds to the character, is what I like to say, of the ballpark. But what's really cool, people come here all the time with, they'll bring old ticket stubs, they'll find the seats on those ticket stubs, and they'll say things like, wow, my grandparents had their first date in these two seats, stuff like that.
Bueno, como vieron, hay mucha historia en esos asientos, ¿verdad?
Tremenda historia.
Bueno, son unos asientos que son como un poco incómodos, pero tienen una herencia histórica.
Exacto.
Sí. No, mi gente, estamos aquí. Yo no sé dónde que estamos, pero estamos en un pasillo, como ustedes pueden ver.
Pasó a la historia de Boston y ha engrandecido la historia de los dominicanos.
Así es. Mira aquí el Red Sox Spanish Radio. Muy bien.
Go out on tours and stuff. Grab any seat you'd like, guys. Anywhere you'd like. This was part of it.
Ok, aquí sí. Mi gente, miren dónde estamos aquí. Estamos aquí. Aquí es el...
Word. All right. So, you can see why money won't buy you these seats. This is for the written media. All the writers and the reporters are sitting in here. It's all assigned seating in here based on the publication that you work for. It's all assigned seating, and it goes by seniority from front to back. So the front row is all the senior writers, all the beat writers who cover the team every day. Second and third rows, like the columnists who don't cover the team as much. Visiting team writers a lot, these second and third rows. Fourth row, take a look at that fourth row up there, all the way at the top. Notice how it kind of looks like we blew out the ceiling to put in that fourth row? That's exactly what we did. We blew out the ceiling to put in that fourth row back in 2007 when we signed a pitcher named Daisuke Matsuzaka. Daisuke was a really, really popular pitcher in Japan. He was really big there. So when we signed him, a lot of Japanese press came over to cover him. So we actually had to put in that fourth row, literally from scratch, to expand the press box and make it a little bigger and accommodate more press. And we now have like 85-ish seats in here. That was one of the largest back in 07, but a lot of parks have been built and renovated since then, and media has grown too. So we're like smaller to medium side of press boxes, much like everything else here. You guys ever seen a movie called Moneyball with Brad Pitt? You guys ever seen Moneyball? It's a really good baseball movie. Brad Pitt, he plays Billy Beane, the general manager of the Oakland A's. And at the end of that movie, they film a scene in which the Red Sox try to get Billy Beane to be their GM, and that scene took place right here, right inside this press box. What's your name at the end? Archie? Right around where you're sitting is where Brad Pitt sat, in one of those spots right there. Any of you guys can be in the chair. The chairs move around all the time, but Archie, you're breathing Brad Pitt's air, if that means anything to you, I don't know. Right field bleachers that I want to tell you about. Look at the green bleachers. Behind the bleachers, there's a Ford sign. You guys see Ford? Look at the O in Ford. Go down like 10, 12 rows. Do you see one seat that catches your eye? The red seat. Everybody see that red seat? Most famous seat here at Fenway, simply known as the Red Seat. It marks the landing spot of the longest home run ever hit inside of Fenway. It was hit by Ted Williams. If you don't know who Ted Williams is, you'll know by the end of this tour. He's the greatest Red Sox in history. Spent 20 years with the Red Sox. One of the greatest baseball players ever. Played here for the Red Sox from 1939 to 1960. And that was one of his most iconic moments. June 9th, 1946. 3 days after the Boston Celtics were founded, the basketball team. We're playing a doubleheader against the Detroit Tigers. And there's a gentleman sitting in that spot. His name is Joe Boucher, an engineer from New York, a Red Sox fan, in town on business, taking the day off of work to come watch the doubleheader. The light towers, however, weren't put in until the following season, 1947. So doubleheaders back then were not day-night like they are now. It was a day-day doubleheader, morning, afternoon. So in the afternoon game of the doubleheader, you can kind of see it now. The sun is setting right behind us over here in the afternoon. In the summer, it's even worse. It's setting right over this side of the ballpark, right in the faces of the people in those bleachers trying to watch the game. So Joe Boucher took the straw hat that he was wearing that day. Remember, this is the 40s. Gentlemen are wearing shirts and ties and jackets, straw hats. He took his straw hat, pulled it down over his eyes to block his eyes from the sun. Wasn't really paying attention to what was happening on the field. Ted Williams steps up to home plate, right underneath that green tarp there, takes a Fred Hutchinson changeup and turns it around all the way out into those right field bleachers, 37 rows deep. Joe's not paying attention. People next to Joe are not doing him any favors. Oh, shit is right. That ball landed right on Joe's head, punched a hole through his straw hat, knocked him out cold. Don't worry, though. He was okay. He was fine. A few minutes later, he woke right up. They sent him right back up to his seat because I guess concussion protocol wasn't a big thing back then. But there was a reporter from the Boston Globe asking him questions, and he was kind of cracking jokes the whole time, being a good sport. They asked him, Joe, what'd you think of that ball? Joe would reply, I lost interest in that ball once it hit me in the head, kind of making fun with the whole thing. He was even quoted with saying, good thing I wasn't standing up. Yeah, concerts every summer, like 8 to 10 times a year. Top headline performers here every summer. Bruce Springsteen came in 2003. That was the first big concert we'd ever had, and just blew the roof off the place. And we've had concerts ever since. Other sports. You guys are probably not Patriot fans by any chance, are you? Yeah, no one is.
Celtics.
Celtics, I dig it. The Patriots used to play here when they were the Boston Patriots. This was their home field back in the 60s. The football field went this way.
Mi gente, seguimos en el tour. Esto está frío. Bien frío, mucho frío. Wow. Seguimos en el tour.
Over there, that's become so synonymous with the ballpark since it was there in the 70s that it's become a landmark in Boston. It's protected. It can't be torn down. Another thing that's protected in this area is because it's a national landmark, Fenway. We are on the National Register of Historic Places. When our current owners bought this place in 2002, they bought it from the Yawkey Trust after Gene and Tom Yawkey had passed away. Yawkey Trust, by the late 90s, was all set to tear down Fenway, build a brand new Fenway, literally right across the street. Plans, permits, everything was ready to go. Then they kind of messed up and told the people of Boston what they were planning on doing, so they decided to auction off the ball club to the highest bidder. The 99 All-Star game was here at Fenway Park because they thought it was going to be the last time that they were going to have a chance to do it. There were 7 ownership groups, seven bidding to buy the Red Sox. 6 of them were going to tear down Fenway. We got bought by the one group that was going to keep Fenway here. John Henry, Tom Werner spent like $350 million renovating this place. And in 2012, when we turned 100 years old, we got put on the National Register of Historic Places. So now it's not going anywhere, and we're all through the year. ESPN, Sports Illustrated, and countless other publications and baseball fans call these the best seats in Major League Baseball because of this incredible view and this incredible vantage point that you don't get at any other ballpark. So these seats were put in 2003. Back then, we didn't know they were going to be the best seats in baseball. In fact, a lot of diehard Sox fans thought it would be sacrilegious to put seats up here on this wall. So from that first season, 2003, tickets up here went on sale at once at $50 a piece. It cost $50 to sit up here. Tickets went on sale in February, the day after a blizzard hit the city of Boston. People camped out the night before in the blizzard to sell out and sold out these seats in 72 minutes. The whole season, all 6 months of the season, 81 home games, 269 seats, 100 standing room spots were gone in a little over an hour. So now they cost a lot more than $50. It depends on the game you come to. A weeknight in April, early in the season, a little cold, not so great team, $150, $200. A weekend in July against the New York Yankees, easily about $500 each. Opening day, first game of the year, real big deal in baseball, $700 to $800 each. And the playoffs, over $1,000 each for a playoff ticket. These are the most sought after seats in the major leagues. And so because of that, there are no season tickets up here. These are all general admission. Anybody can buy these seats if they buy them at the right time. They sell out quickly, but they're all general admission. Every single one of them. Nobody owns any of these seats.